Hi folks, you're with Tassus today, a pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the idea of import substitution. Now, I've seen quite a few pieces in the media recently, and I think as the economies of a lot of the advanced, the Western world, the advanced economies, or even some of the middle range economies, as they start to go into recession, the fears that the globalists have is that nationalist sentiments may sort of come to the surface, and that politicians or organisations within those countries may start to look at how do we develop jobs in the local economy, and import substitution is an obvious way of doing that. Now, the propaganda coming out of the World Bank and the typical sort of globalists talking heads is that import substitution is a bad thing. It's evil, makes things infinitely worse. It caused the Great Depression, and it brought Hitler came out, and that sort of thing. And so they gin it up and talk it up. So I want to talk about, is import substitution a bad thing? Now, like a lot of initiatives, economic initiatives, if it's done badly, it's a bad thing, and if it's done very well, it's a good thing. So what is import substitution? I mean, maybe just have a look at that. The name really does give it away. But let's suppose nation A is importing, I don't know, tables and chairs, kitchen table and chairs, for example, from wherever in the world now, and they're importing a lot of them, and it's really a lot of the money in the country is being spent going out overseas and being spent on these kitchen tables and chairs. So what the governments or some politicians or a particular political party, whatever, might do is say, you know what, why don't we save ourselves some money instead of sending that money overseas? Why don't we save ourselves some money and build those kitchen tables and chairs here locally with local workers and locally developed technology and so on. So in that way, we save ourselves a shitload of money going out of the country. But on top of that, we develop jobs and skills and ingenuities and so on locally in our own country. Now, on the face of that, that's still okay. That's not unreasonable. That's fine. Then we come down to the efficiency concept. Were they buying tables and chairs from the most efficient manufacturers in the world, where gender and race quotas aren't an issue in their employment? They're just the most efficient. And if that is the case, they're buying from the most efficient in the world, and they haven't got a hope of making those kitchen tables and chairs as efficiently and as cost effectively as the other place, and by a wide margin. If it's a close call, then it has to be by a wide margin. Then the economic concept is the resources you would have put into making tables and chairs are now because the most efficient manufacturer in the world is being denied your business. Because of that, you're now employing capital inefficiently by making tables and chairs in your own country, but much less efficiently. This means that the consumer is paying more. The resources deployed are being deployed in an inefficient exercise, or a less efficient, on the basis of relativity, a less efficient exercise. Therefore, that is bad for the world economy. Now, this, of course, assumes that the globalists are pursuing efficiency and all these things. They're not. Efficiency is the furthest thing from their mind. Monopoly and cartels and oligopolies, sure, they're into that. So they're into the efficiency of capital and deployment of capital, but not the efficiency of production or the efficiency of taxation management or any of those. They're not efficient. The efficiency is in the deployment of capital, which is owned disproportionately by them. Now, efficiency in their view is to gain maximum return on capital deployed, and that maximum return comes from, again, monopoly, oligopoly, cartel, tax evasion, and so on. It doesn't come from productive pursuits, nor do they consider productive pursuits worthwhile. Coming back now to the import substitution. So if country A says, well, we're not going to buy from country B anymore, but what are they doing that makes them so, assuming they are efficient in the first place, which is unlikely, but let's let's have a look at what they're doing. And they've got, maybe great designs, or they've got good designers or something. So they've got high quality people there doing the thing. They've got a lot of robotics and automation and this sort of stuff. We need to look at that. And if we look at the relative wages that are being paid, then we can afford to pay X in this country, and we can give 10,000, for example, 10,000 people jobs at a wage that is livable, and we can produce the products here just as efficiently, or very close to the efficiency that those folks can. But in a first world country, it's harder to escape the taxation and the regulations and all that other stuff that maybe in a poorer country you don't have to worry about. So from a globalist point of view, it's an inefficient deployment of capital. But from every other perspective imaginable or known, it is efficient, because the consumer isn't paying any more than they would have paid if the quality is the same or better of the tables and chairs, and it's creating a lot of jobs. Those jobs in turn generate income tax and so on. So in the overall scheme of things, the efficiency of import substitution there is it's quite effective. It works well. Now, how import substitution, though, can be abused. For example, the government could say, well, you know what, unemployment's creeping up, so we need 10,000 workers in that factory to make it efficient. But look, unemployment's pretty high, so what we're going to do is we're going to stick 20,000 workers in there. So that means, in effect, that the production is very inefficient now. The consumer is paying a lot more. So then that means the consumer is actually subsidizing that inefficiency by paying more than they should. So those are the differences in import substitution, of why it works in one case but not in another. And where there's any control or input or government loans, the government politicians just cannot keep their hands off those sorts of things. They will intimidate, stand over, or otherwise hector and hassle any board of directors or CEO to employ way more people than are needed, simply to soak up the unemployment there. Now, even though those people get jobs and they in turn pay taxes, it's effectively funded by the consumer paying way too much for the products. So those are the differences, and I think import substitution is a good idea if it's done efficiently, and if it's done so we say, well, the consumer should not pay any more than they were paying when it was coming from wherever, and making the allowances for things like various government regulations about pollution, or regulations in employment law and so on. In my view, import substitution is a good thing if it's done well, and as in efficiently, and but it would cut directly into and against and across the globalist agenda, and that's why they don't like it. So the more import substitution that can be arranged, the better, because it'll annoy and irritate and otherwise fuck up the globalists. You've been Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.